I never thought tequila could betray me. But there I was, spilling my deepest secret to the one person I swore I'd never tell. Isn't it funny how the people you want to protect the most are the ones you end up hurting with the truth? It was a late Friday night in Chicago. The city outside buzzed with neon lights and restless laughter. But inside my tiny apartment, it was just me, Emily, and the kind of silence that felt heavier than words. We had just come back from a bar, cheeks warm from alcohol, heels in hand, the air between us thick with something neither of us dared name. Emily had been my best friend since freshman year of college. She was the kind of girl who lit up every room without trying, the kind of girl people lean toward instinctively. And me? I was just the quiet shadow orbiting her glow, grateful to exist close enough to feel her warmth. For years I had kept my feelings buried, pressing them deeper every time her smile made my heart stumble, every time her hand brushed mine a second too long. That night, though, something cracked. We were sitting on the couch, shoes tossed aside, a half-empty bottle of tequila on the coffee table between us. My head spun, and my laughter came too easily, but when she leaned close, her perfume wrapping around me, sweet and dizzying, the words slipped out before I could cage them. I think I'm in love with you. The room went dead quiet. I swear I could hear the clock ticking in the kitchen, the faint hum of traffic outside. Emily froze, glass halfway to her lips. For a heartbeat, I wanted to rewind time, to choke those words back down into the darkness where they had lived for years. But I couldn't. Her eyes widened, ocean blue and trembling, and for the first time in forever, I couldn't read her. Emily was always so open, so expressive, but in that moment, she was a storm I couldn't predict. You're... what? She whispered, setting the glass down with shaking hands. I tried to laugh it off, but my throat closed up. I didn't mean well, I did, but not like, damn it, Emily, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything. I'm drunk. The lie tasted bitter. Emily leaned back, staring at me as if seeing me for the first time. I hated the silence stretching between us, hated how exposed I felt, like I had just ripped my heart out and placed it raw and beating on the table for her to judge. Finally, she let out a shaky laugh. God, you always pick the most dramatic times. Something inside me crumbled. I forced a smile, reaching for the tequila to hide the tears threatening at the corners of my eyes. Yeah, that's me. Full of bad timing. But when her hand shot out and caught mine, my world stopped. Don't joke, she said, her voice softer now, almost breaking. Do you mean it? I looked at her, really looked. Her cheeks were flushed, her lashes heavy, but there was no disgust in her eyes. Just fear. And something else that made my chest ache. Yes, I whispered. I've meant it for years. Her breath hitched. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then slowly she leaned in, closing the distance until her forehead pressed against mine. My heart raced so loud I thought she could hear it. You idiot, she murmured, voice trembling. Do you know how many times I almost told you the same thing? The words slammed into me like thunder. My eyes flew open, searching hers, desperate to believe I hadn't just imagined it. Her lips were so close I could taste the tequila on her breath. But instead of kissing me, she pulled back, shaking her head. I can't. Not like this. Not drunk, not tonight. The rejection stung, but there was no cruelty in it. She was protecting something fragile, something that deserved more than blurred edges and liquid courage. We sat in silence, our hands still locked, until eventually the night folded into restless sleep. The next morning the sunlight felt cruel. My head pounded, my stomach churned, but none of it compared to the panic clawing inside me. Had I ruined everything? Would she ever look at me the same again? Emily was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. She looked up when I walked in, her expression unreadable. My mouth went dry. About last night, I began, my voice shaking. Don't, she cut in. Her eyes softened. Not yet. I just need some time. And just like that, she grabbed her bag, kissed my cheek a touch so tender it burned, and walked out the door. The silence she left behind was unbearable. For days we didn't talk. My phone remained painfully silent, every buzz that wasn't her name a fresh wound. I went to work, smiled at colleagues, pretended everything was normal, but inside I was unraveling. Had I destroyed the most important friendship of my life with 3 reckless words? Yet beneath the fear, a spark of hope remained. Because for the first time I had seen something in Emily's eyes. Not pity, Not rejection, but the reflection of the very feelings I had buried for so long. The silence stretched on for nearly a week, and every hour without Emily felt like punishment. I thought maybe she decided to erase me from her life, that my confession had built a wall too high to climb. But on the 7th night, just when I had convinced myself to let her go, my phone buzzed. Emily, can we talk? I stared at the screen, my breath caught in my chest. My fingers trembled as I typed back. Me always. We met at a quiet diner downtown, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and carried a sense of anonymity. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a booth by the window, fidgeting with the edge of a napkin. The moment our eyes met, something unspoken passed between us, fear, longing, love, all tangled together. Hey, she said softly as I slid into the seat across from her. Hey. My voice cracked and I hated how fragile it sounded. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The waitress came, took our orders, left. The silence pressed down until finally Emily exhaled, her shoulders sagging. I've been a coward, she admitted. My heart jumped. Emily. No, listen. Her eyes lifted, bright with unshed tears. I've loved you for years too. I was terrified. Terrified of ruining what we had, of people judging us, of everything. And when you said it that night, I wanted to kiss you so badly. But I couldn't let our first time be blurred by alcohol and confusion. Her voice cracked on the last word, and a tear slid down her cheek. Without thinking, I reached across the table and took her hand. You didn't ruin anything, I whispered. You saved it. Because now I know I'm not alone. She let out a shaky laugh, squeezing my hand. God, you have no idea how many nights I've imagined this. How many times I almost broke and told you. We sat there, two fools grinning and crying in a cheap diner, while the city outside rushed on like nothing monumental was happening. But for me, everything had shifted. Still, love isn't a fairy tale. The weeks that followed weren't filled with endless sunshine. There were doubts, whispered fears, and moments where the weight of society pressed hard on our shoulders. Emily struggled with the idea of coming out to her parents. I wrestled with the guilt of being the one who had changed everything between us. But there were also nights where we stayed up until dawn, laughing until our sides hurt, holding hands under the blanket like teenagers with a secret. There were stolen kisses in quiet corners, timid at first, then deeper, hungrier, like we were trying to make up for lost time. One evening, months after that drunken confession, we returned to my apartment, the same couch, the same dim lamplight. Emily curled up beside me, her head resting on my shoulder. You know, she murmured, I used to think love stories like this only happened in books. I chuckled, pressing a kiss to her hair. Messy, complicated, heartbreaking? She looked up at me, her smile tender. And beautiful. Don't forget beautiful. Her lips met mine then, slow and certain, and for the first time there was no hesitation, no fear. Just us, choosing each other in the quiet certainty of love. The world didn't change overnight. There were still whispers from coworkers, still the gnawing dread of family conversations we hadn't yet faced. But through it all, Emily and I stood side by side. And in that solidarity we found freedom. I often think back to that drunken night, the moment my heart betrayed me with 3 reckless words. For so long I regretted it, cursed myself for losing control. But now I see it differently. That night didn't break us. It freed us. Because sometimes love isn't about perfect timing or flawless confessions. Sometimes it's about blurting it out when you're too drunk to censor yourself. And finding out the person you fear losing most has been waiting to hear those words all along. Months later, Emily and I walked along Lake Michigan, the city lights shimmering across the water. She slipped her hand into mine, her thumb tracing soft circles on my skin. You know what I realized? She said. What? If you hadn't gotten drunk that night, we might have wasted years dancing around the truth. I laughed, leaning down to kiss her cheek. So what you're saying is tequila saved us? She grinned. Exactly. Remind me to thank tequila someday. The air was cool, the waves gentle, and for the first time in years my chest felt light. I no longer carried the weight of unspoken love. Instead, I carried Emily, her laughter, her stubbornness, her softness, all of her. And she carried me. When we stopped to watch the skyline glow, Emily turned to me, her eyes sparkling. Promise me something, she said. Anything. Promise me we won't hide anymore. from each other, from the world. We deserve this. I looked at her, really looked, and in her eyes I saw the girl who had once been my best friend, the girl I had secretly loved for so long, now finally mine. I promise, I whispered. And when I kissed her beneath the Chicago lights, I knew it wasn't just a promise. It was the beginning of everything. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.